Hello, my dear Global family. So nice to meet you at this Global Happiness Research. We are studying mind and body unity, unity in the family, community, country, in the world, how to be happy really together. Uniting science and religions, all the latest technologies are here. Welcome to 36th presentation. Today's presentation about the history and the parallels in history. Enjoy, subscribe and share this message to billions.
Welcome back to the Path to Happiness, an introduction to the unification principle. I'm your host, Dr. Tyler Hendricks. We're studying history, and this might seem abstract, but let us keep in mind that we're talking about people, men and women like you and me, living our lives in hopes that one day we're going to see a better world, even earth or on heaven, but having no idea how or when. These people are our mothers and fathers, going back hundreds of generations. And these principles show how each person's life ties into God's plan of salvation, and how each and every child of God will someday live together as families of true love in heaven. Let's examine the chart of the parallel ages in the providence. The age in the providence of restoration is from Abraham until Jesus, and the age of the prolongation of the providence of restoration, which is to restore through indemnity that previous age, refers to the period from Jesus until the second advent. Based on the principle of restoration, we will find cycles that are parallel to the earlier periods. God's first chosen people consisted of the descendants of Abraham, who established the family foundation for the Messiah. Israel was centrally responsible for God's providence in the age of the providence of restoration. Therefore, the history of Israel provides the source material for the providence of restoration. This age is made up of a 400-year period of slavery in Egypt, a 400-year period of rule by judges, a 120-year period of a united kingdom, a 400-year period of divided kingdoms, north and south, a 210-year period of exile and return, and a 400-year period of preparation for the Messiah. However, after the rejection of Jesus and his resurrection and founding of Christianity, the age of the prolongation of the providence of restoration began, and the Christians became centrally responsible. The history of Western Christianity provides the source materials for the providential history in this age. The purpose of this age is to restore through indemnity the previous age, which was lost, and therefore it is parallel to the 6 stages of the previous age. We have a 400-year period of persecution in the Roman Empire, a 400-year period of a regional church leadership, a 120-year period of united Christian empire, a 400-year period of divided empires, east and west, a 210-year period of the papal exile and return, and a 400-year period of preparation for the second advent. Let's go into these stages in a bit more detail. First, there was the 400-year period of slavery in Egypt. In order to restore through indemnity, Abraham's mistake in his offering centered on Jacob and his 12 children. 70 families entered Egypt and toiled in slavery for 400 years. This period was the image parallel to the 1600 years from Adam to Noah, and was to restore that earlier period through parallel indemnity conditions. Second was the 400-year period of the judges. After the Israelites' exodus from Egypt in BC 1446, they entered Canaan. After Joshua led the Israelites into Canaan, 15 judges governed the tribes. After the first 12 judges, beginning with Othniel, were Samson, Eli, and Samuel. The judges filled the triple responsibilities of prophet, priest, and king. This period was the image parallel to the period of the 400 years from Noah to Abraham in the age of the symbolic parallels, and was to restore that earlier period through parallel indemnity conditions. Third was the 120-year period of the United Kingdom of Israel, BC 1050 to 931. This was a 120-year period of restoration through indemnity to restore Moses' 3 attempts, each 40 years long, to lay the foundation of faith for the national course to restore Canaan. Therefore, in the period of the United Kingdom, King Saul reigned for 40 years, King David for 40 years, and King Solomon for 40 years, making a total of 120 years. This period was the image parallel to the period of 120 years from the time Abraham left Haran until Jacob purchased the birthright from his brother, and was to restore the earlier period through parallel indemnity conditions. Fourth was the 400-year period of the divided kingdoms of north and south, where the northern kingdom was destroyed by the Assyrians in 722 BC, and the southern kingdom eventually was destroyed by the Babylonian Empire and taken into exile in Babylon in 586 BC. This period was the image parallel to the 40 years from Jacob's purchase of the birthright from Esau with bread and lentils until he received the blessing of his father Isaac and fled to Haran, and was to restore the earlier period through parallel indemnity conditions. Fifth was the 210-year period of Israel's exile and return. Due to the Israelites' disbelief, more than 10,000 people of the southern kingdom of Judah were taken into exile by the Babylonian king Nebuchadnezzar in 3 stages. After nearly 70 years of captivity, Babylon fell to King Cyrus of Persia, who issued a royal decree liberating them. They returned to Jerusalem also in 3 stages. Afterwards, the prophet Malachi told the people how to prepare to receive the Messiah. This period, from when the Jews were first taken into exile in Babylon until Malachi's prophecy, is the period of Israel's exile and return. This period was the image parallel to Jacob's 21-year period in Haran, and was to restore the earlier period through parallel indemnity conditions. Sixth is the 400-year period of preparation for the advent of the Messiah. After the Jewish people returned to their homeland, they built the Second Temple and the city walls, and based on Malachi's prophecy, began as a nation to prepare for the Messiah. From that time until the birth of Jesus was a period of 400 years, the period of preparation for the advent of the Messiah. This period was the image parallel to the 40-year period extending from the time Jacob returned to Canaan until his family entered Egypt at the invitation of his son Joseph, and was to restore the earlier period through parallel indemnity conditions. Now, let's knit that together with the age of the prolongation of the providence of restoration. The age of the prolongation of the providence of restoration was to restore through substantial parallels the age of the providence of restoration. First was the 400-year period of persecution in the Roman Empire, Because the people failed to follow Jesus, early Christians underwent a period of comparable suffering, comparable to the period of slavery in Egypt through the persecution of the Roman Empire for 400 years. Emperor Constantine formally recognized Christianity as a legal religion in 313 AD, but actually persecution continued after that, until finally Emperor Theodosius established Christianity as the state religion in 392. This period was the substantial parallel to the Israelites' 400-year period of slavery in Egypt, and its purpose was to restore that earlier period through parallel indemnity conditions. Second was the 400-year period of regional church leadership. The period of regional church leadership began when Christianity was declared the state religion of the Roman Empire and ended with the enthronement of Charlemagne in 800 AD, which signaled the ascendancy of Rome among the 5 church regions. This period was the substantial parallel to the 400-year period of the Judges, and its purpose was to restore that earlier period through parallel indemnity conditions. Third was the 120-year period of Charlemagne's Christian Empire. This period of 120 years began with Charlemagne's enthronement as the emperor crowned by the Pope, and ended after 3 generations in 919, when Henry I was elected king of the German lands. This period was the substantial parallel to the 120-year period of the United Kingdom of Saul, David, and Solomon, and its purpose was to restore that earlier period through parallel indemnity conditions. Fourth was the 400-year period of the divided kingdoms of East and West. This period of 400 years began after the period of the Christian Empire and ended in 1309, when the papacy moved to Avignon, in what is now southern France. Although when the empire was first divided, it was split into the kingdoms of the East Franks, the West Franks, and Italy. Italy soon reverted to the rule of the East Franks, and together these constituted the Holy Roman Empire. This period was the substantial parallel to the 400-year period of the divided kingdoms of North and South after Solomon, and its purpose was to restore that earlier period through parallel indemnity conditions. Fifth was the 210-year period of the papal exile and return. The earlier period was from when the Jewish people of the kingdom of Judah in the south became faithless and failed to uphold the holiness of the temple, and were consequently taken into exile in Babylon until they returned to Israel and rebuilt the temple, a period of 210 years. 2,000 years later, in 1309, Pope Clement V was forced to move the papacy from Rome to Avignon and live there under the control of the kings of France. Later, the papacy returned to Rome, but the instability continued. This period lasted 210 years and led up to the Protestant Reformation in 1517. Sixth was the 400-year period of the preparation for the second advent of the Messiah. This period was to restore the earlier preparation for the advent of the Messiah, starting after Malachi's prophecy and leading to the birth of Jesus Christ through parallel indemnity conditions. By these parallels, 400 years after Martin Luther's renunciation of Roman authority would bring us to the eve of the second advent of Christ on earth. Luther's Protestant Reformation, opened the way for free Christian churches by rejecting the absolutist system centered on the Pope. The Bible was translated into English, German, and other popular languages, allowing anyone to have the freedom to practice their faith directly from the Bible. It was a revolutionary change. This gave birth to populist faith, which allows the individual the freedom and responsibility to recognize the second advent of the Messiah. We see that the unification principle integrates the principles of the creation, human fall, the development of human faith and love, as well as science and economy, into one overarching ideal of true love and true families. So it all comes down to our lives and our families. It is about how God is working through us to bring these ideals, to liberate all people, and bring His dwelling place to earth. But how does all this make its way into the 21st century? Social media, terrorism, gay marriage, healthcare crisis, environmental crisis. What is God's plan today? We'll find our way there by looking at the last 400 years in this sweeping drama, this panorama of parallels of history leading up to the 20th century. Thanks for listening, and may God grant us all the ability to live in His love.
Okay. This was the presentation for today. Powerful presentation. So we have a little bit from the God's plan and human predestination. Subscribe the channel and share this message to billions. Join tomorrow with more powerful presentation.